What's up, Reapers? Welcome back to the crypt. I got a bit of a different video doing a favorite albums of a genre, black metal. These are not all my favorites. I do have quite a few that I'm either just missing. So to get some of those out of the way, I do have Mayhem in here, but I do not have my favorite album from them. I'm not a huge Mayhem fan, overall, but I think it was like Live in Leipzig, I believe is the album. It's a live album and it's got like their logo in purple. That is my favorite album. I don't have any Dark Throne, which I know, sue me. Um, but Panzerfaust and Blazing Northern Sky differentiates between those two. Um, there are quite a few bands I am missing, but um, I'm gonna start off with the band I'm currently wearing my hoodie of, Black Anvil. Their album from last year. Some people might be like, "Well, it can't be a favorite because it's only been out a year." Um, I'd also say the Swedish band Kavian, Kavian, however the fuck it's said. I don't know. I asked my friend, and his pronunciation did not help me in the slightest. But a cave vein, I don't fucking know, but whatever. Um, their album from last year is fucking incredible. Um, Black Anvil Regenesis. Holy hell, I love every fucking song. My favorite song has to be 8-Bit Terror. A lot of people do not um know about Black Anvil or whatever, and when I saw that they were opening for Enslaved and Insomnium, I went from being just like, oh, okay, I'm seeing Enslaved to holy shit, I'm seeing Black Anvil, one of my favorite bands. Spent like $200 at that show, but god damn it, it was worth it. Because I got all three of the CDs that they had. I got a hoodie, I got long sleeve, a t-shirt, which I actually have the t-shirt right here. I'm gonna be wearing it to a movie tomorrow, along with the hoodie. Fight me on it. I actually have the long sleeve right here. And if you're wondering, was it necessary to buy this stuff? The answer for me is yes. And just Black Anvil on their side, and then on the back it says, "Ever shall we reign." I love that, but like I said, huge fan of them. And to me, this is like their perfect album. Um, Next up, the album that pretty much got me into black metal in general is a DSBM band called Happy Days with their album Happiness Stops Here. This was very fucking hard to get. Because basically, I wanted this for a while. And when I was just getting into black metal, and I have another story uh that go that goes into this area, or a couple others, but that's for later. I I remember listening to this album, and at the time, I felt like so down and defeated, and just I wasn't good mentally. Um, it was during the pandemic, and I remember listening to What It Feels to Be Unloved, and I remember wanting this album for so long, and I had my dad look it up, and he found it on Amazon for $900. I'm like, I don't have $900, and he's like, well, I'm not even gonna help you buy that for 900. No, like 900 is a lot for a fucking CD. And we looked and finally for Valentine's Day, my parents come out with this little bag of goodies, and in there was this. And I remember just looking at it so excited, like, oh, I own it. And I remember opening it and just seeing uh disc and everything. And you know, it was like I finally found it for less than 900, like way less. So next up is a band I actually found through the Metalhead box, and this would be the band Mortifurious with Necromancer Awakens. Means a lot to me because this was one of the first albums in the Metalhead box I ever got, and I know that seems stupid, but I remember seeing it. I remember Black Metal Werewolf. Sorry guys, I'm like really tired. Black Metal Werewolf had gotten it the same day, and I remember he put it on, and I just realized I missed it. Oh, hold on. And I remember he named off a bunch of songs, and I'm like, I remember, you know, seeing if I could listen to them on Spotify or listen to the album on Spotify at school, because I hate using YouTube. And yes, I know I don't like streaming, but I stream anyway. I do it when I don't have the ability to use Bandcamp or whatever. But that's a whole other thing. And I remember listening to it and being so disturbed by it, but intrigued. Next up is the one I just pulled off, Sorcier de Glace, Snowland. I remember Count Blagroth got me into this, and I remember listening to it in winter of 21, or it was like in the last 2 years. I listened to this album, and I remember being taken away from how raw it sounded. I say raw, but you know, it didn't sound like. And I forgot another one. Sorry guys. I'm just everywhere today. Um, I remember hearing it and I was like, huh. I remember listening to it again and again, and finally there was a night where I was home alone and it was snowing. It was a pretty big snowstorm or whatever, and I finally went and listened to it. This was way before I had the CD, by the way. And as I watched snow, I remember I just listened to onward into the crystal snows, and for some reason, as soon as that song just hit, it just clicked. Okay, this is my favorite album from these guys. I don't care if you guys are like, oh well, it's also Count Blackhouse, so you're clearly copying him. This was the first album I heard from these guys when I even heard about them, and I remember absolutely loving it. This is the Swedish band Watain with Lawless Darkness. A favorite album from them. Second, a very close second being Sworn to the Dark. This album is pure evil, and I remember listening to Waters of Ain at school at one point, and I was actually wearing a Mayhem shirt, and he was, and I was listening to it, and I remember just being so intrigued that I didn't even care about my assignment, and I remember, it ended, and it went back to uh the first track. I can't really read that font. I don't. Um, and I remember just being like, man, these guys are so good at, and honestly, it's one of those I love Watain. Next up is a classic. I feel like if you don't own this, you aren't really a black metal fan, and I want to get it on cassette and vinyl along with the Live in Leipzig. This is Mayhem's Death Crush EP. This was one of the first uh, black metal albums I ever got. And, well, like I said, Happy Days was what got me into black metal, but I remember hearing, like, of Mayhem, and, I remember hearing, like, Chainsaw Guts Fuck, and I would listen to that so much. Um, that I went like, hey, can I get Mayhem's Death Crush? Which, of course, my dad orders it for me. I always liked the black with red print on the CD. And I always found it kind of just funny that I remember just kind of listening to it, and I didn't really listen to it a whole lot, and then finally I listened to Happy Days, and after that I listened to this, and it just clicked. But Live in Leipzig is, yeah. So that was one of the first releases I heard. Immortal, Pure Holocaust. This band just took me a while to get into. I don't know why. I never got All Shall Perish or All Shall Fall or any of that, and I always thought like, oh, they're this like huge band along with Dimmu Borgir and Behemoth, and when you think of black metal, you think of those bands, and they're just not that good. And I mean, I still somewhat stand by that, but I remember watching Count Blackrock do a CD collection video, and he had some of the Immortal stuff, and and he said Pure Holocaust, and he's like, the first few records from Immortal are perfect, and I was like, alright, there's not much I can really lose here, so I went and bought it, and I remember listening to it, and I listened, and then all of a sudden it just clicked in my brain. Finally. An album that some people may not consider black metal, but I think it is, just because, like, this is a black metal essential. Celtic Frost, Morbid Tales. I have a poster. I am not a huge Celtic Frost fan, I will say that. But these guys were one of the first bands I ever found out getting into extreme metal. And to go along with this, I have to grab one more CD. Hellhammer, Apocalyptic Raids. First ever Celtic Frost related CD I got. I remember listening to it, and for the longest time, I was like, oh, Hellhammer's like the best band out there, and Celtic Frost are so good, and if you like extreme metal, then you have to know these bands. And actually, Happy Days might not have been my first black metal CD. It might have actually been this. I don't really remember, but it was one of those two. It was either that, Mayhem, or Happy Days. One of those three. But I remember loving Celtic Frost when I heard about them. And I heard Morbid Tales. I heard the scream on Into the Crypts of Rays. I remember the and then the and I'm like, it's like I want to headbang, but I also want to just listen to this. And I remember reading the lyrics and thinking, oh my god, these guys are so good. Hellhammer did take me a bit to really dig, but I mean, I do like Celtic Frost and Hellhammer, but I'm not like gonna go seek out their stuff first. There's just a lot of other stuff, and I feel like there's a lot better black metal now, personally. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and as always, keep it grim.